Hello. Today we'd like to tell you something about the Getronics Next Generation Workspace. And first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Martin Gaines. I look after the Workspace portfolio. And Henk, if you'd like to introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Henk Heijlen. I'm taking care of the solution portfolio management within Getronics in Belgium.
And today, well, we're going to go through quite an agenda, but I'd like to just talk through some of our vision first. So first of all, to introduce, the Workspace has now opened up to the point where the business can really make a number of choices themselves, perhaps by using a range of mobile devices, maybe using software on demand. It's frequently the case that IT leaders feel that they've lost some degree of control around the information technology being used, and certainly for the budget that supports it. Different elements of the business, for instance, marketing, sales, finance, they're looking at new options now, looking for better applications, looking to improve their ability to interact with, retain and attract new customers and indeed staff. The ease with which they can find, test and commence using such externally provided solutions on a range of different end-user devices represents a challenge to IT departments everywhere, who still need to make sure that they protect the company assets and intellectual property, the data, and protect and secure. The demands of the business are driven by competitiveness. Better IT and better customer-facing service can make the difference between success and mediocrity. And actually, in today's market, we've got examples clearly showing that it can be the worst case can be failure. The sheer rate of change across the IT available is a challenge to all. Getronics have concentrated on extending our workspace solutions, integrating advanced tools, using strategic partnerships, and generally changing the way which we can support and enable all our clients. Our strategy over the past 2 years has been developed by listening to customers, by working with analyst companies such as Gartner, Ovum, and Forrester, but also looking at our own business and asking ourselves what can be improved. Some of our decisions have led to the addition of new teams to Getronics itself, notably extending our unified communications capabilities and by adding a very large-scale applications development and support capability. Our vision of the workspace is focused around the end user and their needs to interact with applications and data using those devices and operating systems with which they are most familiar and comfortable with. Our agenda today takes us into that vision. It talks about the importance of applications and making them mobile. It recognizes the hybrid environment as being something which is the reality. We talk about managing data. We talk about looking at unlocking the workspace and actually making it device neutral. And we look at collaboration. Collaboration makes it usable to everybody. And at the end of all of this, we get truly end-user focus. So if we go to Henk.
Yeah, it's all about apps and data. It looks like a slogan, but it's one of the important components within our next generation workspace offering. Another one is that we put the end user as the central component within our workspace offering, and that end user that is demanding more and more flexibility. They want to work or being able to work on any location, whether it's in the office, at home, or even at a customer. And more we see that end users starting to use different devices, not only a fixed PC, it can be a laptop, but also tablets and other mobile devices are being used more and more and need to be supported through the workspace offering. Now, if we talk about the applications, at the end, it's about applications and data, because those applications and certainly the data which is worked on by applications makes our end user more and more productive, and being able to input data and analyze data is offered by applications. And those applications, they can be bespoke applications which are already running for years in an organization. It can be standardized applications like Office applications, and more we see popping up mobile applications specifically developed for a certain activity or for a certain device. And within Getronics, we think that it's important that we added that layer of applications on top of our Workspace offering. So in the past, we were more or less focused on the infrastructure component of the Workspace, but now we are able to help organizations in developing, integrating applications on those different types of devices. And even we extend that further, not only to the internal organization, but also certainly to the outside world, and reaching out through those applications to the customers of our customers, so that businesses at the end can become more productive, because they allow, for instance, a customer to directly order services or equipment through the applications that are being offered to their end customers. And the flexibility of our solution is very important, because the current workforce wants to make choices themselves. They want to choose whenever they want to work, when they want to work, where they want to work, on what type of device they want to work, and even sometimes want to choose the type of application they want to use at that certain moment in time for that specific task. And of course, if we can enable through our Workspace doing easier business, for instance, like simplifying the order process by integrating that towards the end users, that helps also our customers. For instance, saving time and resources by not doing data entering twice or three times, no, just by integrating the applications and only having to do data entry once. That type of solutions will save time and at the end improve the productivity of the end user. And of course, ecological aspects also are important. So we integrated in this solution also things like unified communication, collaboration applications, which allow to efficiently work together with co-workers, but also communicate with end customers by means of instant messaging or video calls. So what we see more and more is that a Workspace is becoming a more hybrid implementation. So customers want to choose where they run, for instance, the backend of their Workspace, whether it's in their own data center, with a partner's data center like Getronics, or in a third-party cloud solution. But we should not neglect that Getronics can combine that hybrid requirement of customers in the Workspace with a strong heritage of more than over 25 years of experience in building and designing and implementing and running workspaces. So by adding this hybrid functionality to our next generation Workspace, we enable customers to make the choice how they run their Workspace, either on-site or as a service in our data center, or even certain components in a public cloud. So this hybrid integration is a very important component of our next generation Workspace offering. In this way, we can still run legacy applications that are there for already a few years, but add new functionalities should there be a need in more standardized and even cloud applications that can be used by the end users of our customers. Getronics is delivering end-to-end service on top of that type of hybrid solutions through integrated service management, delivering self-service for the end user, proactive tooling in order to be more efficient in supporting the end users. Of course, security is an important aspect if we're talking about Workspace, because at the end we are talking about the data of customers that needs to be secured regardless of where the data is processed or installed. A unified way of having access and giving access in a consistent and easy way to the end users is of course also important. And yeah, the cost aspect, we should not neglect that. By enabling our customers to choose where they run certain components of the workspace, we can propose the best cost-efficient way of deploying that workspace as well. Another aspect of our next generation workspace is that we decouple the functionality of the workspace from the physical devices. So end users more and more are requesting that they are not physically locked to their workspace in the office. They want to work at home, they want to work with customers, and even on the road, being able to switch from standard desktop to a laptop or even a tablet or other mobile devices. And that's why in our vision of and our solution of the next generation workspace, we enable this. We have decoupled the functionality from the workspace from the physical device, so that end users can either choose to work on a physical PC fixed in the office and go home and continue to work on maybe their private PC and continue with the same application in the same way of working in a flexible way, regardless of what device they are working on. And we as Getronics can help organizations decoupling that workspace, and certainly the applications and the data from that physical device, because we think it's an important aspect to go forward in empowering users to become more productive in an organization. How we do it? We work with organizational personas, identifying what type of functions we have in an organization, what locations they need to be worked on. It can be a single location, but it can be multiple locations. Looking at the applications, whether it are bespoke applications that are running already for years in an organization, looking whether we should virtualize them or not in order to enable them to run on different devices. And as a result, we can really offer with our solution a functionality where you can work anywhere, anytime, and on any device.
As Henk was saying, it's all about unlocking the workspace from the devices, and we recognise that an individual's choice, is very important to them. And when they're on the move, it tends to be more and more that people choose to use a small device. It's more comfortable to use, and frankly, if you're on a train or you're flying somewhere, it's very difficult nowadays to use a laptop or anything like that. So they use multiple devices, and when they get back home, they actually choose perhaps to use a different device. They actually pick up, if it's like me, they pick up their PC and they start to use and work on their PC, because at home they've got a desk, it's easier to use. But in order to actually make that work easily, there needs to be a level of synchronization of data. So if somebody's been working, while they've been traveling and away on one device, we want to actually make it very easy so that when they pick up their next device, they work on the current state of that file or whatever they were working on as they went. Well, within Getronics, we use a Mosey solution as our standard workspace. That enables the users to choose which they synchronize and what they don't synchronize. That said, though, that's not the only solution. That solution's one. We enable our workspace designers, though, to choose from a range of other solutions as well. And really, that depends on the requirements, the security requirements, particularly of the business that we're actually facing. As Hank was saying, enabling personal device choice and the efficiencies and familiarity which that enables, it requires a number of layers of management in order to secure our data. Managing network access, providing effective security of applications, and data on devices. supported an integral extension of Getronics' long-established managed services, where applicable from our service desk, underpins that need for data security. We design, implement, and manage that type of environment without any compromise. We said we can choose which data we send to an individual. What's also important is we can actually choose what that individual can do with that data. We can choose whether they can send it on to somebody, print it, copy it. We can control it. And there are a number of different things that we can use to do that. Deploying a range of solutions, well, that can include data loss prevention, mobile device management tools, personal firewalls. However the data is protected, there are also some very useful additional benefits which may be enabled within the workspace. One such benefit is the ability to keep each individual's information current by automatically sending new information, as we've said before. And we can also make sure that data is backed up and protected. And again, that's a headache for a lot of people in the workspace area, and particularly where multiple devices are used. The ability to use, for instance, Mozy to back up data and actually make it available to a user should they lose a device or want to access it from somewhere else is vital. Today's modern workspace must also enable communications and collaboration. There are real drivers to make this happen. Most businesses today recognize it's much more efficient to provide their end user base with the means to interact and share documents, to hold meetings with multiple personnel and even customers without the need for expensive and time-consuming travel. Getronics itself is a great exponent of using our own workspace to good advantage. It's often the case now that teams work together online rather than travel for hours just to sit together in the same room. Not only does this and such solutions cut the cost of time and travel, but it also has a positive ecological effect and enables the reduction of expensive office space. What's more, often individuals become used to using such environments. They become great exponents of it. Getronics designs and supports solutions based on several of the world-leading technologies. What's more, we recognize that adoption is key. Once a reasonable percentage, in our experience perhaps 30–40%, really start using the full features, recognizing the advantages, they encourage and show others. In order to get adoption quickly, Getronics implementations include an element of awareness and training, and really seeking to show the power of what can be done, and getting to that 30 or 40% adoption level. Once we've got there, we can actually rapidly achieve high levels of adoption from that point onwards.
So within our solution, we really put the end user in the center, because at the end it's all about making the end user more productive for their organization, and we really want to empower them to enable this. There are times when any workspace user needs support. Getronics has been providing workspace managed services for many years, and it's based around our global service delivery model, global service centers, and also global break and fix and desk side support activities. These centers, they are still in service. However, the emphasis of those centers has been changed. Yes, we will still manage against the typical SLAs. We still ensure the correct number of personnel to be available to be able to handle the different volumes of incidents and so on. But what has then changed? We can list several changes, including more self-service, for instance, enabling users to reset themselves through voice recognition their password. We also have added managed print capabilities, and progressively also a range of mobile devices and smart applications on top of that are added. However, perhaps the biggest change and the one that has the greatest positive effect is that we have integrated in our end-to-end toolset a proactive solution that really reduces the number of times an end user needs to call the service desk. The functionality that we integrated, it allows us to speed up the process of fault identification, and also allows to identify whether or not other end users are impacted by the same incident, like that specific incident that is analyzed, and as a result, we can really proactively take actions also on other users than the one that is being identified as having a problem. All the data of the entire workspace environment is collected and analyzed in a proactive way, so that we can really detect problems even before an end user feels the need of calling the service desk, and really allowing us to become more proactive. And I think, Martin, you have an example of such a real live case we had with a customer.
Yeah, I do, Hank. It's one example that we've seen live on one of our customers. One example of many, I might add, is for instance, where we've seen 4 incidents of applications crashing and people having real problems with using some things. But only 4 incidents were actually reported. Now, in the old perspective, if we looked at how we might have treated this in the past, that wouldn't have even raised a flag. We would have dealt with the incident and moved on, helping that individual user. However, using this tool set now, using the analytics and the data we collect, we are actually able to very quickly see, well, virtually instantly see, that some 72 users had actually experienced crashes in the 7 days before as well that hadn't actually reported anything. And beyond that, and as Hank was saying, really, we're able to look back down and identify, using the same tool set integrated with our same service management system, that some 3,000 plus other people could have been exposed to the same issue. Now, the modern way of fixing that now is looking at one fix and sending it out to everybody. Now, using some of the persona features that we have, we're also able to go back to that individual and perhaps tell them we fixed it if we think we should, or we can certainly make sure that the IT department knows that the problem that was experienced is fixed. But that's only one example of just the power of what we can get from analytics. So if we look at the building blocks of what we might see as a standard solution that we might be talking about, Hank's covered a lot of it. We've covered a lot of things today. But, if we start at the bottom there, we talk about a secure data center. It could be a Getronics data center. It could be a customer's data center. It could be part of the online services, or, infrastructure as a service that we provide, or not. The collaboration and communication, I think that's standard now in any workspace. We need that building block, whatever it looks like for everybody. Multiple device support is a feature that everybody is using, and what we've described today is a way of actually really making that environment usable, making it manageable, protecting the data that's on it, backing that data up, synchronizing it. I think that makes personal choice a reality. The efficiencies that come with that, the sort of just the sheer personal feeling that you get from being able to use your own device. If you sit in a room with people with different devices, they'll often compete with each other, and whose is best. Well, actually, it's whose is best for you. Which one are you familiar with? Which one do you like using? The proactive customer care part of it, well, that moves us from, if you like, looking at the old SLA-based things to, looking at that analytics base that, we discussed with Hank a little while ago, and we showed some examples of. That proactive customer care enables us to really start preempting people's problems, to actually show a positive. But more than anything else, though, for the first time, we can actually deal with that end user from end to end. We can actually see what's actually happening to that end user and remove that issue that we've all seen where an end user saying he has a problem with IT, but IT thinks everything's green. IT thinks everything's good because everything they're managing and looking at in the background shows green, but the end user's still having a problem, whether it's because his PC under spec or whether he's getting applications crashing for another reason, or maybe he's got some security problems. That proactive piece changes the whole element. Whilst we're fixing problems, we see a problem, we fix it, and we can fix it multiple times with one fix. Really, the workload goes down in terms of customers calling us, and that's fine. That's what we want. We don't want people having to call us. But actually, the work in the background intensifies. There's a lot more things we see. There's a lot more things we fix, and that really enables us to give that proactive customer care. When it comes to applications, well, we talked about the fact that Getronics recognized the need to, put into its Workspace solution something that recognizes the need to use, business apps everywhere on any device. That comes with the investments we've made. Usually comes with workshopping something with a customer. It comes with looking at bespoke applications and working out how to make them mobile. It comes with taking existing information and making it mobile for use across different devices. It also comes with the production of specific smart applications, so that we can actually use information in an entirely different way, and we've got examples of that in multiple places. The other point that's important to Getronics, and Henk was going through it earlier, really, is that it's important now that your customer, our customer's customer, if you like, from a Getronics point of view, becomes part of that workspace. Now, it's stretching the use of the workspace. I think everybody would tell me that. However, how many of us actually have an application on our smart device that we just go to if we're booking a train ticket or we want to buy something, and we don't look anywhere else? We just go to that application, and we use that application to enter one specific customer business. Well, I would say that's an extension of our workspace. Some would say I'm stretching the definition a little bit far, but hey, that's I think that is an extension of the workspace. We're actually encouraging people to become hooked in and use us and our customers in a different way.
Okay, let's try to summarize it all. Our next generation workspace is clearly business focused. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We analyze the different organizational personas in an organization, and based on that we will define the workspace and the way it needs to be scoped for that specific organization. We also include applications, and specific line of business applications will be adapted, will be integrated to make sure that we can support them end-to-end, regardless of the device it will have to run on. We also included now the proactivity in our services, and also empowering through self-service the end user to do more themselves, like for instance the example of the password reset. Also, the fact that we recognize that business environments are becoming more and more hybrid, so people need to be able to work on-site, remote, at customers, and so on. And they want a choice. They want the choice to work at a certain task at home, or they want a choice to work at a customer, and on different devices. So in a certain moment in time, they can work on a fixed PC, and an hour later on a tablet doing a different task. But all that needs to be secure. So also security is an important component in our solution stack, and the fact that also our back-end hybrid solution is available gives our customers the choice to either runs things on premise or in the data center of Getronics. Truly giving that flexibility in our solution. And the focus is really on applications and the integration of that applications, making the data in an efficient way available to the end users in integrated ways, so that they can efficiently input data or analyze data and become more productive for their organizations. And of course, once again, also application security and making applications mobile is a key component in our offering. And we deliver this on a global scale. Within the countries where Getronics has their own offices, we will do it ourselves, but we rely on a partner network over the globe, so that we, in a consistent way, can deliver this next generation workspace all over the globe. In conclusion, the Getronics next generation workspace solution built on continuing heritage of the Getronics Global Workspace Alliance, our focus upon proactivity in support, our ability to design, implement and support the complete workspace, enabling the use of different and sometimes multiple end user devices, and moreover, our focus on making applications available and secure truly takes Getronics Workspace to the next generation, and enabling our end users as a result to become more satisfied and more productive.
So it's really, thank you very much for listening to us today. I hope you've found something there that's of interest to you, and I'm sure there are lots of questions you'd like to ask us. So please go ahead. Let's ask some questions and see how many of them we can answer live. It's a good challenge for us. Those that we can't answer, we'll take offline and come back to you for sure. Okay, to ask a question of us, please use the Ask a Question button under the presentation window and write your question. Martin, myself, and Henk will be taking questions between us, between the two countries that are on the line here. I actually have the first question in, and it's one that says, well, you talked about making applications mobile and extending into customer environments, getting them to operate as part of my workspace. What examples do you have to help me understand? So we talked about having quite a lot of different examples. To pick a few, starting with a banking application, looking at making mobile interfaces, work with core banking integration. We have examples where we've got airport services, for instance, wayfinding within airports, actually giving people the ability to put in their flight numbers and track where they have to go with directions to it. That sort of thing now extends to integration with parking services, and the pushing of complex messages back and integrating with other things. Location, hours, flight details. Other things that come to mind are mobile field processes, such as mobile applications for social services, where you can actually sit in front of somebody and actually deal with the processes, actually interact with somebody, use a digital pen and process information, for instance. Other examples of that are sort of mobile dealer audits, actually going to a dealer and actually carrying out an audit live, using a variety of mobile devices. Other examples extend into training services, actually taking, training material and making it live on smart devices, and actually, giving the ability for the trainee to, sign for it and for those records to be kept and managed. If we look at other things we're doing, facing out from ourselves for supported customers, we're looking at putting information on everything we do back out into applications that end users within a customer environment can use to log calls with us, but to track it on different devices, and also for sort of management dashboards of that to actually show management in a near live environment, what's actually happening, and give them the ability to drill down into it. So removing all of that, what I would call past tense reporting, where perhaps 4 weeks, after the event, you've got something. On the same sort of process, the ability to put dashboarding of corporate information together and actually put live or near live, real-time interactive dashboards together, pulling information that's useful to interact with today, so you can avoid problems, if you like, rather than sort of 4 weeks' time when it's already happened. Examples of that could be, queues at security in an airport or something like that, where if you can deal with it live, you might be able to get away with not, actually be able to interact with it and actually get away without paying penalties for such things. Whereas 4 weeks into some sort of reporting, it's too late. You've already paid the penalty. If I move on to, if I look at some other questions that are coming, we're getting quite a few questions through. Well, Henk, do you want to take a look at the question around specific vendors and things that's coming in there?
Yeah, of course. So it's clear that within our next generation workspace offering, we have standardized solutions around certain vendor stacks. So within there you will see that, for instance, for the base operating system, we rely on Microsoft technologies. Microsoft is one of our major partners overall for Getronics, and in other solution areas you will find, for instance, Citrix, which helps us in virtualizing both applications and the desktop itself, because as we already stated in the presentation, we try to decouple the workspace as such from the physical device, and technologies such as Citrix can help us doing and delivering that. For the rest, of course, if we talk specifically about bringing bespoke applications and integrating them on top of this next generation workspace, we support within our development team the different technology stacks, so we can help in create and integrate native applications on Android platforms, on iOS platforms from Apple, or through .NET development and integration of Microsoft. So if we talk specifically about the development and the integration of apps and bringing applications to the different platforms, we are open and flexible through the knowledge within that extended application development team to deliver it to the different stacks that are out there. So there it's really an open environment we can offer to our customers in that perspective.
Okay, thanks, Henk. I have another question come in around telling me more about or request to tell me more about the power of analytics. The analytics system we're talking about here is looking at the end user environment, and literally we're collecting all the data that's an end user, all the data of an end user experience, and we can collect that data over at least a 4-week time frame. So that can be used in several ways. It can be used so that if a user calls us, as we bring up his or her issue on a screen, on the ServiceNow screen, we can actually see a record of what we think, what the analytics tool is saying is happening to that user live. If we then want to, we can do then several things. We can study and actually fix that problem and understand where that problem is coming from very quickly. However, the real power of the solution as well comes with the ability to take that particular issue and then look across the entire database, the recorded database, to see who else has that problem and who else may have that problem. The other thing that we're doing more and more is we're actually offline looking at what's happening with that end-user environment before people call. So the proactive part, actually looking to see if anybody's getting, for instance, blue screens or applications crashes, actually pulling that information out, or maybe just under-spec PCs and losing applications, but pulling that information out and starting to use that before we ever take a call from an end user. And that adds significant benefit to people, and where we as usual, we tried it ourselves, and it gave us really great benefit and some really great feedback of people who said, well, I didn't even realize that my problem was serious, and you've had me drop into somewhere and fix it. The other thing that the analytics tool does give us is another layer of security as well, and that's the ability, for instance, to see what happens if somebody downloads something and opens a file that they shouldn't actually allow access to their PC, actually see what it does and see where that might go next. There's some things that in the security side are useful within the overall layered security parameters that we might have. That gives a brief overview of some of the additional powers. I guess the other thing I should say is that integration also allows us to collect data straight into the CMDB and things like that. There's another question coming in on the lifecycle products used, standard applications used. And Henk, do you want to have a go at that one, or in how we maintain the lifecycle products?
Yeah, of course. Lifecycle is important, and it's not a static exercise. The workspace needs to evolve to keep the end user and the organization up to speed. So it's clear that as Getronics, we make sure that we evaluate on a regular basis whether or not a solution is still aligned with the requirements of our customers, and in this way we can either continue to use a specific choice for that organization we have made and continue just maybe by updating the new version that has been released, or we can discontinue that functionality through that specific application and introduce a new solution that aligns better with the requirements and the future requirements of the organization and their end users. So we try to avoid, of course, to switch too often, but it's clear that that type of evaluations need to be done every now and then to make sure that we keep up with the needs of organizations and their end users. So it's sure that lifecycle management is an important aspect of the services we deliver within this next generation workspace offering towards our end customers.
Okay, I've got one more question, but if anybody else has any more whilst I answer some of that, please use the Ask a Question button. We have a few more minutes left. The question that I was going to deal with is what are the main technologies and partners you work with to enable the next-gen workspace? Well, I think we've covered some of it. I think Microsoft forms a fundamental building plank of everything we do. We've got an analytics tool embedded in there that we selected after careful consideration. Of course, we use Cisco, and when we talked about the communication collaboration side, we mentioned Link. So Link and Cisco become very important to us. And through the presentation, we also mentioned things like Mozy, which we use in many instances for backing up and synchronizing data, though the point I made is valid that doesn't answer everybody's issue because the data for that is offshored. I think there are, of course, other things we use. So we take a look and building on what Henk was saying. I think we take a look at the best of breed mobile device management platforms and keep a track of those. And people like AirWatch and Mobile Iron are important to us, and we keep an eye on everybody else. For instance, what Microsoft are doing. I think there's one more question coming up. Henk, would you like to deal with that last question there?
Yeah, fine. There's a remark about what about security? The challenges around the security boundary and securing corporate data. Yeah, of course, security on every level is important, and we acknowledge that. If you look to our portfolio, you have the different components that make up our next generation workspace, which are the backend data center services, the unified communications, the workspace itself, certainly, of course, the applications, and we all bring that in our online services as a service, also available through in a cloud way of delivering things in a pay-per-use model, and the other component which is clearly present in our portfolio and which is incorporated in our Workspace offering is security. So it's clear that we want in the solution we offer to customers that we have a layered approach to security, and that security goes over the different components. So this means that specifically on the data center, we will incorporate security aspects, like, for instance, if we talk about securing data, we will make sure that the data on the level of availability is secure, but also if the data is that important, that valuable, that the storage will encrypt the data so that it's secure for external possible threats. But also important is security on the level of unified communications. How do you connect a workstation, endpoint device, or even a device that is not owned by the enterprise in a secure way to your organization? So also there, within our solution, we incorporated aspects that can guarantee the secure connectivity of a device into the back end of an organization. If we talk about Workspace, things like network access control, so implementing .1x and being sure that before a device connects to the back end, that the antivirus is up to date and that it's really that user that is accessing the environment. Are all aspects that we can offer as a component within the Workspace, and also on application level, we can help in securing applications. Certainly, if we talk about web-facing applications, we will add a layer of web application firewall security to make sure that if there is an entry done in a web application, that it's a valid entry and that it's not something that will or potentially can misuse the application and the backend data. So all those aspects are certainly addressed in our offering, and our approach is layered, because in security you need to have a layered approach. It's not only the firewall that will protect you, it's the firewall in combination with other aspects, so that if one layer fails, the others can still secure your environment, and that layered approach is clearly a core component in our next generation Workspace offering as well, to assure the security of basically the applications and the data, which are very important assets of our customers.
Thank you, Henk. We've had a great attendance today. I think we've run out of questions now, but what I would like to do is anybody who has specific questions they'd like to ask Henk or myself, please use the email, come back to us, and we'll come back to you individually. And the other point I would make is it's always difficult on a session like this to make sure we really answered your question. So, please, if you don't feel we've comprehensively answered any question, do come back to us, and we'll organise a one-to-one and as much information as you require. So I think from Martin, I'd like to say thank you for everybody who attended today. And Henk?
Yeah, same for me. So don't hesitate if there are questions to contact us. You have our email addresses, and we will make sure that we come back to you with a clear answer. And of course, I also would like to thank everybody for attending this session. Thank you.
Thank you.